Hello everyone, welcome to Titan Web Tutorials. In this video we will configure the SmartV using user session and Salesforce JWT tokens. So this is my Titan Web project. We have a simple website here with a few pages, and what we want to do here is we want to add SmartV to authenticate users in Salesforce, either a standard user or a community user or any other user you have in your Salesforce, and we want to run whenever you run a push or a get from Salesforce or to Salesforce, you want to run it as that user. In order for that to happen, we need to set up JWT. So you have a few steps here. So the end step will be going to the project settings and hitting the user access, selecting the SmartV, and configuring JWT user. Before that, we have to go through my account and we have to grant access to a Salesforce JWT session. And you see this requires consumer key, audience, and certificate. And in order for us to get this information, we have to create in Salesforce a connected app to be able to handle these requests. All right, so I'm in Setup App Manager. We're going to create a new connected app. We will call this Titan Web JWT, and I'll add an email here. And the next thing we have to enable is enable all settings and then use digital signatures. And the digital signature requires a certificate combined of a public certificate and a private certificate. We will generate this certificate as just a simple command line code that we will run, and will generate the private and public keys. And then we will upload the public certificate into the Salesforce connected app, and the private key will upload into your account in Titan. All right, so let's head over to, I'm running a Mac, so Mac and Linux is very easy to generate these certificates. It's a simple command. So I'm just gonna generate it on my key here, and you have to fill in some information, and let's do NA, and company Titan Web. All right, and now I'll head over to my folder here where I generated it, and I see a private key and a server key, which is great. So our server key will go on to Salesforce connected app, and our private key will go on to Titan. So let's start with the server. So I'm gonna head over to my desktop and certificate, and let's upload a server certificate. Now the callback URL, you can technically give anything for it. You can grab something from here as well. Doesn't really make a difference. And what we want to do is we want to give access. So let's give access. In my instance, I'm just going to give a refresh tokens and full access as well. And the only thing we have to do left is just save this guy. All right, once it's saved, allow 10 minutes for it to be active and start responding to requests. What we need to do here, which is very important, is to give access to the profile that will be using this. So in order for us to give access for it, we're going to do manage. And I want permitted users to be pre-authorized. So I'm going to click edit policies, and permitted users, I'm going to click admin approved users are pre-authorized, and I'll save this. And then I'll head over to the bottom and I'll manage the profiles that will be using it. So if you don't have access to this connected app with your profile, you cannot authenticate properly. So I'll give the system admin pre-authorized, and I'll pre-authorize my community profiles as well, and I'll hit save. Now we're technically good to go. The only thing we need to do is go back to our app manager. Let's find our Titan Web JWT, and I'll hit view. And what I need is the consumer key. All right, so we have a consumer key. Now we need to fill in an audience. The audience is sort of either you're going to your production, which will be like your standard users. That will be login.salesforce.com, or you want to authenticate community users. So community users, you need to give the community URL for the audience, otherwise it will not work properly. So what we need to do here is I want to authenticate community users because it makes more sense to me to use community users and run on their session. And again, if you need this for standard users, that can work just the same. Just put it in the audience login.salesforce.com. All right, so I'm in my community, grab my URL, and I'll put this guy in. And now the only thing left to do is add a certificate, my private key that I generated. All right, so I'm just gonna open it with some text editor, and I'll grab my private key and I'll put it over here, and I'll hit apply. That's it, we're done. Now our next step is to go back to our Titan project, to our Titan Web project, and configure this. So you see that the JWT user, it will work only with a user. So we are authenticating users in Salesforce. It doesn't matter if it's a community user or a standard user. Again, it's up to the audience you configured on your app, on your JWT app. But what we need to do here is set the email up, and just like in the other video, you can do conditions. You can say the other SmartV video, you can say only users with such and such that belong to such and such, only they can authorize, or from a certain profile. You can add whatever condition you like here just to authenticate some users, and some users will not be able to log in. From here, it's just straightforward SmartV configuration. It's just like we configured before. So let's do SmartV OTP. So this is just a custom field I have on the user object for Titan to save the 2FA, the one-time password for that user. All right, again, a profile page, if you want to include a profile page or not, then we've shown this in the past video about SmartV. This is just straightforward SmartV. Nothing more to it. And the same thing with the registration. If you want to allow registration, in our instance, we do not want to allow registration since these are Salesforce users. And parameters, you can save these parameters wherever you like. In my instance, I don't need it since we're saving the SmartV parameter that will hold the user ID. So that's wonderful. Let's just make sure we have everything here. So this is our value. We don't need condition. We'll do one-time password, no profile page, and no parameters. Generate SmartV login. All right, now just like in the previous video, you can decide if you want your whatever pages you want public, whatever you want private. It's up to you to decide what it is you like. So in my instance, I'm just going to make the customer service inherit from project, which means it will require SmartV login, and the create a case, I'll do inherit from project as well. So that will require SmartV login. Product page, etc. will be public. One thing to note, when you run this with the JWT token, you're using the user session, which means if, for instance, the user that I will log in with, or the user that will log in with the SmartV, will not have permission to view products, or some products it will have permission or not have permission. So even in the get, you're not gonna get the objects you want unless in Salesforce they have permissions to view it. Otherwise, it will not run. All right, so let's head over to, let's save this guy and publish, and I'll see how this goes. All right, so we'll head over to our published page. We'll refresh, and let's see how this does. So I'm gonna head over to customer service, and I'm immediately required to log in. So let me just grab my username here. So this guy is a community user, so I'm just gonna grab email, and Titan will send now one-time password to that email address, and it's already here. So we got the one-time password. I'll put it in here. Let's log in. And here we go. So we see a list of cases, everything is fine. Now let's try and create a new case, all right? So just like we said before, now it's gonna run as, it will try and push the case as that user. And now let's see what happens. Testing, and let's put a priority, and testing. All right, select the product and I'll save. And I see something is wrong. It's saved, it loaded, nothing here is loaded back. I immediately see something is not behaving correctly. So let's head over to our Salesforce integration, and I'm going to take a look at the integration logs. And we see a big error here. And what it says, create a new case in Salesforce, invalid field for insert update, unable to create update fields, blah, 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 blah. And then it tells us, please check the security settings of the field and verify that it's read-write for your profile permissions. So basically what happened here, that some of the cases, some of the fields on the case that we were trying to push, the security settings on the fields, on these fields were not set for that community user. This is why we got the error. So what you will need to do in this instance, and this is just to demonstrate really what's going on here, that you actually running your requests as the logged in user. So the way for you to fix a problem like this is a very easy thing to fix. You just go to the profile, you give it permissions. You have to make sure that it has all the permission that it needs to do what it needs to do on your Titan Web project. Now let's try and push an object that doesn't have the user has, the community user has all the permission it needs to in order to push it. And we will say hello. So this will create a lead in Salesforce, and we'll say community JWT, and we'll give some phone. And let's select the product and tell us more. Really cool stuff. And we will save. And I'll head over to the integration again. So I'll head over to Salesforce, integration logs, and I see that the lead was created. Now if I'll click on it, and it will take me to the lead, and I'll take a look at the details, and I can see that the owner of this lead is Jack Rogers. And Jack Rogers, if I'll click on it, you can see that it's a community user. And this is how it's done.